Why am I Luigi all of a sudden? Is this New Game Plus? What the f? You know what's funny? Growing up, I always heard whispers about this game. The lost levels, the real Mario 2. The impossible, the one Nintendo hid from America. And honestly, I was a kid, so I bought into the hype. I believed that the lost levels was the true Super Mario Bros. 2, especially because the version we ended up getting was so odd compared to the other two NES games. Now, I didn't own Super Mario All-Stars at the time, so I thought people were lying about the difficulty. I mean, come on, how bad could it really be? It's Mario. Boy, was I wrong. This game is a menace. Hello everyone, it's Kevin, and today we are talking about the Mario game that Nintendo America looked at and basically said, absolutely not. This is Super Mario Bros. 2, the Japanese version, otherwise known as the Lost Levels. And after finally sitting down and properly playing through it, I kinda understand why Nintendo thought Western kids would lose their minds. But at the same time, there's also a really good game hidden underneath all the suffering. So today, it is time to power on and see if Nintendo was right to keep this Mario game away from us. After the massive success of the first Super Mario Bros. Game, Nintendo obviously needed to make a sequel. And in Japan, this was it. But here's the thing, instead of reinventing the formula, they basically took the first game and said, what if we continued where we left off difficulty-wise from Super Mario Bros. Endgame? What if we made the player want to cry? Oh, it sounds brilliant. Let's load it up with new traps, harder jumps, wind physics, which, by the way, I thought were cool, but it never returned after this. And, of course, poison mushrooms. But you know what? That's not even the worst thing. The worst has to be the invisible blocks over bottomless pits. This is not difficulty. This is just straight up sadistic.
Oh, you didn't want to land there? Get good, boy.
Now, when I really think back to it, Nintendo America did have a point. Because back then, games were very different in North America. Sure, we had some tough games, but a lot of players hadn't fully adapted to this level of precision platforming yet. So, Nintendo was worried that Western audiences would think the sequel looked similar, but would find it way too hard when they got their hands on it, resulting in the game getting panned. Which is why instead North America got a completely different game. It is a very fun game, mind you, but it was actually a modified version of Doki Doki Panic. I'm not gonna go too deep into the history because it's a famous story, but yeah, a lot of people didn't know that our Super Mario Bros. 2 was actually just a reskin game. That was probably smart for business though. Because imagine being a 6-year-old kid in the late 80s. You just beat Mario 1. You saved up all your money and your allowance for Mario 2, and this shows up in your house. I think you'd be crying before World 3. In this game you could play as Mario or Luigi, which is kinda cool. Mario plays just like in the original, whereas Luigi kinda controls like the North American Super Mario Bros. 2. He has a high jump and slippery controls. I consider this hard mode because of what this game demands from you. It looks like they got rid of 2-player mode for this though. But here's the thing that surprises me about all of this. Under all that trollish design, and it's a bit subjective I know, I actually think that this game improves on the original in a few ways. For one, the platforming itself is now more demanding. While the original was revolutionary, honestly it was not that hard outside of a few levels. This game though, it pushes the mechanics way further. This game actually stresses the need for precision. The difficulty was based on precise movements and platforming instead of cheap tactics like responding enemies or knockback. One thing to keep in mind is that this game assumes that you've already mastered the original. So instead of teaching you the basics again, it immediately starts testing you. Being a guy that loves difficult games with smooth mechanics, this is quite refreshing. The graphics got a slight upgrade as well, but some people dislike the ground texture. There's also more weirdness in this game. There are wind stages which are new to the series, and there are fake warp zones that actually send you backwards. That could definitely be seen as a negative, but you live and you learn. Yeah, sure, the game is hard all the way through, but the later worlds use every trick in the book, and they start to get absolutely insane. Perhaps they should have just called it Super Mario Bros. Pro Edition, as it seemed like Miyamoto was challenging veterans directly. However, there are times that this game crosses the lines, because there's a difference between challenging design, which is most of the game, and also just straight up cheapness. Along with the added difficulty, this game loves trolling the player. Invisible blocks over pits are the biggest example. You can't react to that. You just hit it, you die because the game decided that your happiness was unacceptable. And some of the level design relies way too heavily on memorization, especially later on. Instead of learning naturally, you're sometimes expected to learn by dying first. There were a few times where I ran too fast and the screen scrolled forward enough that I could not make certain jumps. And while the original game had some of that in the endgame, this sequel turns it up hard. And you know what? Where were the power-ups in this game? It was hard enough staying big, especially when some parts require small Mario to pass, but power-ups were just rare, especially the star. I only remember seeing it once. I also don't think I've seen a 1-up mushroom in this game. Trampoline gameplay was pretty big in this game, and I think it's pretty cool, but the problem is they were a bit inconsistent with it. Some of these trampolines gave you a small boost, but some of them would send you straight into Mario Galaxy itself. There is no indication which is which, and again, it's just trial and error sometimes. While there was a slight upgrade in graphics, visually and structurally, it's still very close to the first game. So if someone wanted a huge evolution when it comes to that, I totally understand why this might have disappointed them back then.
Wow, mushrooms could kill you in this? Even I'm not that evil.
Yeah, let's talk about these poison mushrooms for a second, because they are evil. For years, Mario trained us to think that mushrooms are good. 1-ups, super mushrooms, we were rewarded for getting them. And then this game came along and says, actually no kids, mushrooms are bad for you. That perfectly summarizes this entire game. It constantly weaponizes your instincts from the first game. Every time you feel comfortable, the game punishes you for it. What's crazy about these mushrooms though, is that in the underground or castle stages, there's no color difference. So watch out for that. There is one key factor to this game that makes it a bit more fair though. Similar to Ninja Gaiden, when you game over, it doesn't send you all the way back to the beginning of the game, like the original. And thank goodness for that, because if this game restarted you from World 1 every time, I genuinely think that people would have rioted in Japan. Instead, you restart from the beginning of the current world. Yeah, sure, it still hurts, but at least it makes the game feel beatable. And honestly, that one decision probably saved this game from becoming completely unbearable. The deeper we get into this game, it feels more like it's a proto Kaizo Mario. Like seriously, some of these jumps feel designed by someone actively angry at the player. World 7 and World 8 especially has a lot of these things. That's where Nintendo stops holding back entirely. The game becomes a test of patience, memory, and emotional stability. A few of the castles in this game are mazes, just like the final castle in the original. But my big problem with that is that there's no confirmation if you're going the right way or not. They did it perfectly in the All-Stars version, but in this, you're just out of luck. It's like Nintendo looked at the original castle mazes and said, "This was classic, let's do it 4 more times just to mess with them." It's actually crazy to think about how many kids would have been destroyed by this back then. Because I mean, look at it compared to nowadays. Now you would just look this up online. Back then, you either figure it out yourself or you suffer forever. And let me quickly say, Stage 8-4 is on the level of the final boss of Ninja Gaiden. I kept dying to this madness and having to start over at 8-1. It was very annoying, but it was super satisfying when I finally beat it.
Imagine paying full price to get emotionally ambushed by this kid-friendly video game.
So after finally playing through this game, do I think that Nintendo was right to keep this away from us? Honestly, no, they were wrong. There's actually a really good challenging platformer here. I mean, you still sent us games like Castlevania, Ninja Gaiden, Ghouls and Ghosts, so why not this one? Sure, maybe not as a follow-up to the original Mario for casual audiences. This probably would have terrified them, especially the kids. Like I said earlier, just re-release it as Special Edition. It's a slight mistake, because not only would it still sell well, controller sales would also go up due to them being broken by gamers worldwide. I am glad that the game eventually released on the SNES, because it's just fascinating. It's basically Nintendo experimenting with hardcore Mario design decades before the modern challenge hacks or Mario Maker existed. There's something weirdly respectable about a game that just looks at the player and says,
"Figure it out."
Even if sometimes it feels like the game enjoys your pain a little too much. At the end of the day, even though I now have a stiff neck after beating this, I feel good. This game isn't just hard Mario. It seemed like Nintendo was testing the limits of what players could tolerate in 1986. Sometimes it's brilliant, sometimes it's unfair, and sometimes it feels like Miyamoto himself is just laughing at you. But one thing's for sure, after playing this, I'm not even sure these are lost levels. I think they were hidden for public safety. And that's a wrap.
But what about the secret worlds?
There are secret worlds in this one?
Oh yeah, you are missing out.
Alright, let's see here. To access these bonus worlds, you must beat the main game. You must beat the game 8 times. You will earn a star on the title screen for every successful run. Once you have 8 stars, hold down the A button and press start on the title screen. You may have also missed World 9. You must play through the original 8 worlds without using any warp zones? If you warp even once during your run, World 9 will be permanently locked for that playthrough. No freaking way. I barely beat this game one time, and I was forced to warp to World 6. What the f***, man?